So UFC 251 Fight Island is over. Of course, it was last weekend, and not all my predictions were right. But I do have a few things to say about it. This one's going to be winners and losers of 251. I felt like some of the better fights were on the undercard. The first one, I would say, was the first fight of the day between Martin Day and Davey Grant. Davey Grant, I'd say, is a clear winner here. I mean, both of them were. They both put on a great fight. And Davey was able to pull it out there at the end with a pretty vicious knockout, just leaving him sleeping on the floor. I'd say that Davey is a pretty clear winner on Saturday night. And, I look forward to seeing more from him. As Americani and Danny Henry, this was a fight that ended so quickly. Americani subbed him out with a beautiful choke, put him to sleep, and he looked great doing it. I want to see more of that guy. So I would say Makwan Americani, if that's correct. That's a guy that I want to see more of. He impressed Saturday night. The guy's a clear winner. His stock goes up in my book. Dos Santos, what was his name? Lazu Dos Santos, maybe, and Salikov. Man, that was a great fight, and that was billed that way. Everybody knew it was going to be a good fight. At least that's what people were telling me. I didn't know much about either one of these guys, but everybody was saying this is going to be a fight to watch, and they were right. That was a great fight. I think it was a decision. Yeah, it was a decision, but it was a fun fight to watch, and I look forward to seeing both of those guys again. So to me, those two guys were also winners. He had a few on the undercard, and not as many as I had hoped to see on the main card. The Paige Van Zant and Amanda Hebus fight, I think we got a winner and a loser both in that one. Paige was obviously talking about testing the free agency market. I'll tell you what, free agency is gonna look a whole lot better when you're going in there with a W. And she got smushed, man. She was a pretty clear loser on Saturday. She didn't look good in the fights, and I don't really see her free agency looking real good based off of that. She's a talented fighter. She's a unique personality. I like Paige, but I believe that her stock took a pretty good knock Saturday night. Inversely, Amanda Hebus took care of a talented fighter. She did it quickly. We got to know who she is a little bit in the post-fight press conference, and I think that Amanda has she's proven herself to be a contender. Maybe not right now, but she's proven that she's going to be there for a while. She's got some skills, she's got some chops, and she's got some personality. A clear winner in my book. Her stock really goes up. To get into the main events, or the three main events, the three belts, this is where I felt a little underwhelmed, and I'm going to tell you why. The first fight for the belt, of course, was between Peter Yan and Jose Aldo, and props to Yan, but I think that the standout in this point was Jose, and he was a loser on Saturday. I think that, if we go all the way back to when Conor dethroned Jose, and kind of did it quickly. A lot of people were saying, oh, that's a fluke. Look at all the things that Jose's done in this sport. That won't happen again. And there was a lot of reasons to believe that to be true. But if you follow his career from that point forward, we started to see him looking really good at times and looking not so good at other times. And there was kind of that talk of, is it the beginning of the end for Jose Aldo? And a lot of people said, no, of course not. He's not that old yet. He's still, I think, 35 or so. He should have a few more years. But we got to remember that he's got a lot of years in this sport, a lot of years in his career. And I thought that Yan kind of showed that, yeah, we have been watching the beginning of the end for Jose Aldo. Obviously, he's in there against a top-tier competition, but he got beat pretty handily. He took that shot to the belly early in the first round and just didn't seem to recover from it. His cradling up there at the end of the fight was it just didn't look good. It wasn't a good look for him. I think that we're starting to see the beginning of the end for Josie. and so I would say that his stock took a few steps backwards Saturday night. The next main event was Max and Alex Volkanovski, where I feel like, I don't want to call them both losers, but I don't think anything good happened for either one of them. First of all, in my opinion, the wrong guy won. I felt like Max won that fight. I felt like he won 3 rounds to 2, and in the game that we love, in the sport that we love, that means Max won, even though he was starting to lose the fight as the fight went on. In the scoring system, I felt Max won that fight. The judges didn't see it that way. That kind of takes the sting out of it a little bit. And I don't see any real winner emerging from that fight. And the same will be said about the main event with Usman and Masvidal. Masvidal, very much on his brand. He took this fight, dangerous fight, on very short notice. And you could tell it was after the first or second round where he was walking back to his corner with his hands on top of his head, which, of course, is expanding his lungs, making it easier to breathe. You don't do that unless you're tired. He got tired early on, and he showed what we already know about him, that he's a dog. He's not going away. But like I said, we already knew that about him. But he got bullied through that fight, and it's hard to call him a winner there. Usman, on the other hand, he dominated the guy. I guess whatever. You just kind of pushed him up against the fence and didn't do a whole lot. To me, that was one of the more boring fights on the card. I had a hard time, staying into it the whole time. So I have a hard time calling either one of these guys winners. And the big winner of the night, in my opinion, the guy who stood out the most, was Prochaska. He took on Volkan Oezdemir. I think I'm saying his name right. I'm not sure. But that's kind of the point. Prochaska, man, I don't know anybody named Prochaska, but now I know that name because he went out there, he hot dogged a little bit, he was flashy, and he got the job done. He put Oezdemir down. I'm looking, and on his UFC debut too. So not only did they put him up against a very legit fighter, so they obviously know who he is. They know what to expect from him. But he came in there and he looks like a beast. He's a big guy. He's stacked. And he was fooling around. He's throwing no-look punches. He had just this mannerism of somebody who was having fun, of somebody who had been there for a long time. He is somebody that I'm very much looking forward to watching again. And like I said, I know his name, even though it's a pretty weird name that I've never heard before. Now I know his name. I think a lot of people probably feel the same way about that as I do. So to me, the biggest winner at UFC 251 was Prochaska, and I can't wait to see more of him.